If, over the years, you've studied sales techniques at all, I've got some bad news for you. Most of what you've probably been taught about closing the sale is wrong. A lot of it is just plain silly, but some of it is downright toxic when it comes to earning the trust and confidence of your small and medium-sized business customers. What I'm going to share with you is something you might not ever have heard before: the real truth about closing a sale in today's highly competitive selling environment. For starters, you've got to understand that over the years, as the number of competitors you have to face has grown, and as your customers have become more savvy about technology, there's been a dramatic shift in the balance of power between you, the seller, and your customer. As a result, the customers and prospects you talk to every day aren't going to put up with the so-called closing techniques that salespeople were taught in the past. The key to successful closing techniques today is planning and preparation. It's kind of like playing chess. You've got to be thinking several moves ahead and working from the outset at setting up your end game. If you haven't watched the module on financial selling yet, take a few minutes when we're done here and check it out, because in addition to all of the benefits to offering a monthly payment option that I mentioned there's another benefit that I didn't mention. A simple fact that is overlooked by so many salespeople is this: if you and your client agree at the outset of your discussion on a financing option, your sale, for all practical purposes, is already closed. Once you get the paperwork in process and a line of credit approved by a leasing vendor, then it's a rare client indeed who's not going to see the sales process through to its conclusion. The key here is to not wait until the end of the process to discuss financing. Start the financing discussion and its attendant paperwork early. You'll find that the sale, in effect, closes itself. Of course, there will be some clients for whom financing is, for one reason or another, not an option they want to consider. What kinds of closing techniques can be successful when you're dealing with them? Again, the biggest key is planning. Your best bet here is to establish your closing criteria early on in the process. Be presumptive and maybe a little audacious. For example, you might say to your prospect, "I'm going to review your requirements with one of my systems engineers in order to prepare a detailed recommendation. This is a $1,500 service, but it'll save you that much and more by saving your time and helping you to avoid costly mistakes. It's also far less than a consultant would charge you for a similar service. Now, we'll invoice you for the analysis immediately, but when you go ahead with the acquisition of your system from us, we'll give you full credit for the $1,500. How does that sound?" Now notice what you've done here. You've defined the sales process and set up your end game at the very outset of the conversation. Of course, the details of what you say are going to be determined by your company's particular policies and procedures, but the principle involved stays the same. Don't wait until the last minute to think about closing the sale. Make your job easier by setting the stage early. The last thing you need to understand about closing the sale is the importance of developing a sense of urgency. Woody Hayes, the football coach, used to tell his players that only 3 things can happen when you throw the football downfield, and 2 of them are bad. Well, I want to tell you that about 100 different things can happen when your sales process drags on longer than it has to, and 99 of them are bad. A new technology rumor in the newspaper might cause your client to postpone a decision indefinitely. There might be some change in your client's financial situation that results in a buying freeze. My favorite example, and one that's unbelievably common, is that the person you've been talking to for months leaves the company, and all of a sudden you're back at square one with a new decision maker who says he's got a brother-in-law in the business. The answer: don't leave one phase of the sale until you've scheduled the next one, preferably for some time soon. Let your client know that it's your intention to move forward sooner rather than later. The point is this: both you and your client are better off if your business is concluded as expeditiously as possible. If you're not in a hurry, your client won't be either. So make sure you approach each sale with a controlled but well-developed sense of urgency. After all, why take chances?